Hi everyone, welcome back to another board game tier list, talking Dune Imperium for probably the last time for a while. We've done a lot of videos on this game, it's an awesome game. This time we're going to talk about the Rise of Ix and also the Bloodlines expansion that have a mechanic called tech tiles. And so it was first introduced in Ix, and then they added more in Bloodlines, and the way that you acquire them is different depending on which expansion you're playing, but they function basically the same. You would pay a certain amount of spice to buy it, and then you would take control of it, and a lot of them have when acquired abilities, or just passive abilities, or things that you can trigger. A lot of them would like flip over, so you can use it once per round. They do all sorts of different stuff. Some of them have endgame points. So we are going to look at all these. We are going to judge them based on the cost as well, the bang for your buck. And yeah, S is the best, F's the worst. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, this is a funny one to start out with because I think it is one of the most powerful ones. It costs 4 spice, which these range from like 1 to 8, so it's kind of in the middle. Reveal turn, if you have a seat on the High Council, you get 4 daggers. So obviously, if you don't have a High Council seat, it's worthless. If you do, it's probably the best tech tile in the game. It's just kind of crazy just getting 4 extra combat strength every combat. So I'm going to assume if you're buying it, you have a High Council seat or are planning on getting one soon, and that makes it S tier to me. Spaceport. All right, so 5 spice. When you buy it, you immediately get to draw 2 cards, and then you may put cards you acquire on top of your deck. Drawing 2 cards may or may not be helpful depending on the situation you're in. I mean, obviously drawing 2 cards is good, but it might not be something that really moves the needle if, if you're going to reveal the next turn and it doesn't really get you enough persuasion to do anything significant. Putting cards you acquire on top of your deck can be helpful, but it doesn't really give you any benefit of its own. It's just hopefully you're buying good cards that you can use. For 5 spice, I just don't think that's really worth it. So I guess we'll go F. I'm not impressed. All right, this one's 6. When you buy it, I hope you can, that might be really small and hard to read, but it says choose 2, and then it's gaining 1 influence in the 4 factions. So you gain an influence in 2 of the 4 factions. And then at the beginning of every round, you get 2 money. So this is obviously much better when you get it earlier in the game. Of course, I think all of these are, so that's probably kind of just a given. The earlier you get them, the more value you're going to get out of them. But this is also really valuable late game just because it has a strong when purchased ability. And that's really the part that I like more. I don't value money that highly. So the passive income is nice, but it's the 2 influence that to me is really a big deal. It is expensive, so I'm going to put it in A just because of the cost. All right, this one only costs 2. When you get it, you get an influence in any track, and then endgame is 3 influence or more on all 4 tracks, gives you a point. So I do love this one. I mean, even if you don't get the endgame thing, 2 spice for 1 influence, sweet, that's a good deal. If you do get the endgame one, then I mean, this is just an absolute steal. And it rewards you for doing something that I kind of want to do anyways, which is do really good on the influence tracks, and it helps you to get up there. It is kind of tough to do 3 influence, and the 3 is kind of awkward because 2 influence is a point, and then 4 influence is where you gain the alliance, but 3 influence is kind of just no man's land. But I think it's really good value, so I'm going to put it in S. The endgame ones are interesting because sometimes you'll be sitting there knowing you have these points, but you can't actually trigger endgame until you get there. So that's another interesting factor to consider with it. All right, reveal turn gives you 1 persuasion. So it's kind of like a mini High Council seat. The cost, I'd say, is about equal. 2 spice is about... Well, actually, the cost is not as good value because 2 spice is probably equal to 4 or 5 Solari, and High Council seat is 5 Solari for 2 persuasion every reveal turn. So Not amazing value compared to the High Council space, but the fact that it just gives you another option. If you get both of them, you just have an extra 3 persuasion every turn. You're going to get some really good cards. Again, obviously really strong early game, not so strong late game. I think that's fair to put in B. Hollow Projector. So this is the thing where you can use it once per round. You would flip this over and do that ability. 3 spice, so once per round you can discard a card to draw a card, which is helpful. It's really good if you have a lot of the cards in your deck that give you a benefit when you discard them. Otherwise, it's not really netting you anything. You're just getting rid of a card you don't want to draw a new one, which is helpful, but it's not huge. So I'm going to put that in C. Training Drones. Once per round, you get a troop. I do like this one. Just having extra troops just kind of automatically is sweet. And you control when you flip this over. So assuming you go to a combat space at some point each round, you're pretty much always going to be able to deploy that troop if you want to, which I think is pretty nice. So I'm going to put that in A. Okay. Invasion ships. This one's cool. When you get it, you immediately get 4 troops, which is a significant amount. And then once per round, you can flip it over and discard a card, so enemy agents don't block your agent this turn. So it is costly because you have to discard a card, but that's pretty huge to not get blocked. Again, combos well if you buy the X cards that benefit from being discarded. 5 spice. Yeah, I think that's going to be A. Sonic Snoopers gets you an intrigue card when you buy it, and then you can trash it to put any number of your intrigue cards on the bottom of the deck and draw that many. So it's just replaces intrigue cards that you don't like with new ones. I don't love it because it doesn't actually net you anything. It's just hopefully you draw more valuable ones. And sometimes that can be a big difference maker because sometimes you get stuck with the ones you don't want, but you also have to trash it. Sometimes that stinks because some of the things combo off of like having 3 tactiles, and if you trash it, you don't have it anymore. Yeah, I think that's a C. I don't think it's amazing. Troop transports. This is fun. So whenever you recruit troops from the shipping track, recruit an additional troop, you may deploy any of them to the conflict. So if you remember the shipping track from the Ix board, that's the second space up on it. Gives you 2 troops and an influence, which I think is the best of the 3 shipping track bonuses. So a lot of times I will go up to the 2 and then go back down. I try not to go up and down immediately because I think that second spot is really good. But I think you don't need to go all the way up. I think if you just go there and back, that's pretty great. And if you do it with this, then it's really great because you just get 3 troops. You can put them all out immediately because sometimes you're getting all the troops from that, but it's not a combat space, so you can't necessarily get them out there. This one's also really cool because the top space lets you buy a tactile at a 2 spice discount. So if you do that, you can just get this for free and then immediately get the troop bonus and deploy them. So it depends how much you're going for the shipping track. If you have 2 guild influence, how viable that is, because sometimes you might only get to trigger that like once per game and then it's not that valuable. But if you're doing it a lot, it's pretty good. I think I'm just going to put it in B. Space right there. All right, artillery. I think this is the only 1 spice one from Ix. During your reveal turn, you get an extra dagger for each revealed card that has a dagger. So obviously it depends on what's in your deck, how valuable it's going to be. I often trash my daggers and don't necessarily buy new ones, in which case it might do nothing. But I mean, it's 1 spice and it just gives you free daggers. So I think that's pretty nice. If you buy a lot of dagger cards, then it becomes really good. We'll put that in B. Okay, this one's interesting. When you win a conflict with a dreadnought, you may return the dreadnought to gain a point instead of taking control of a board space. So it's 3 spice, and you need to win a conflict with a dreadnought. So that's a lot of requirements just to get anything out of it. And then you obviously have to return the dreadnought, which is another sacrifice. But I think if you can do it, it's totally worth it. A lot of times you do that on the last or one of the last conflicts of the round when you wouldn't really get any more use out of the dreadnought anyways. And so to get a point is huge, and it kind of lets you do a power play, you know, where you win a big level 3 conflict that gets you 2 points, and then you return the dreadnought for a 3rd point. That's just a big swing. So I'll put it in B. This one's weird. You win tiebreakers at endgame. So if you don't end up tied, it doesn't matter. But if you do end up tied, it wins you the game. So it's kind of like it can be worth a point in that sense. And when you buy it, you get 2 intrigue cards, which, again, hard to predict what that's going to be worth. But because you get 2 of them, it's pretty good value. Probably one of them is going to be good. I do like this one. I think that's actually an A for me. Kind of no matter what you're doing in the game, that's probably not a bad purchase. Wind traps. You immediately get a water, and then whenever you win a conflict, you get a water. So one of the cheaper ones, only 2 spice, which, is not bad. If you think about it, 2 spice for 1 water. Okay, fine. So it's not a terrible purchase. If you win a conflict, 2 spice for 2 water, cool, good value. If you win 2 conflicts, you get 3 water out of it, then you're really cooking. The thing is, it's kind of hard to do. If you think about it, most games are probably like 8 rounds, and if it's a 4-player game, each player really is only expected to win like 2 conflicts, which doesn't sound like much. And then if you probably aren't going to get this right off the bat, unless, maybe you do, but if you don't get it right off the bat, you might only get 1 or 2 water out of it. So I think it's a C. I don't think it really moves the needle for you. This one's weird. I struggle with this one. It's worth a point for each faction where you have 1 or less influence. So that can be huge. I mean, 4 spice to potentially get multiple points is obviously awesome. But I always want to go up the faction tracks. It rewards you for doing something you don't want to do. And sometimes you end up kind of stuck with this where you're like, I'm at 9 points. If I go up to another faction, I could be at 10 and trigger endgame, but then I lose this point, so it doesn't really help. And that's where I think it's good that it has this. So if you do get to 1 influence on everything, then you can trash it and get a point, which is a nice backup. But at that point, you've spent 7 spice for 1 point, which is not really amazing. So, you know what? I'm going to put it in F. I don't like it. It's probably wrong. I think it's powerful, but I don't like it. Flagship. This is the most expensive one, 8 spice, but you automatically get a point when you buy it. And then every round you can gain 3 troops if you pay 4 money. So really powerful, a point, and then it lets you potentially kind of take over a lot of conflicts, but super expensive. I mean, to have the 8 spice and then to try to get 4 money every round, you're probably not going to be able to use that every round. I'm going to put it in B because I do think it's powerful, but it's expensive. All right, another 6 one, kind of like the shuttle fleet. It gives you a round start ability, and this one draws you a card, which I think is better than the money. That's really cool. You just have an extra card every round. That's awesome. But the endgame thing is tough to hit, I think. To have 2, the spice must flow. Then again, if you do get that, it's really good. So we'll put it in B. This is the last one from Ix. You get a trash card when you buy it. During your reveal turn, if you have 6 persuasion or more, you may trash one of your cards in play. I generally really like trashing, but I don't like this that much. I think it's hard to get 6 persuasion. Then you have to trash a card in play, which is very limiting, especially because the cards in play are likely good cards if you got to 6 persuasion. So I think it's a C. All right, that's everything from Ix. So the 4 daggers and the influence and game point. Restricted Ordnance and Mimo Quarters are my favorites. So let's get into the Bloodlines ones. I don't know these ones as well, but we'll see what we think. I've played them somewhat. 2 spice for an intrigue card or a card, and your intrigue cards can't be stolen unless you have 5 or more. Generally, it's 4 or more. That's cool, but like if you're hoarding intrigue cards, like I don't know, what are you doing? You probably just want to play them more often. I don't think you often have more than 4 intrigue cards in your hand, so I'm going to put it in C. This one I am not brave enough. I've not been brave enough to buy thus far. During your reveal turn, you have to either lose an influence or lose all your spice. And so that's where it's tough. This one can really hurt you if you're not careful. Now, obviously, there's some benefits. If you lose an influence, you get 3 daggers. If you lose your spice, you trash it. So, I don't know. If you reveal and you have 1 spice, then whatever. You lost a spice and it's gone. Not a big problem, but also it's not helping you that much. When you buy it, you break the shield wall and you get a troop. Breaking the shield wall it just depends. So this is an uprising one. I should specify it. That's not a thing in the base game. But yeah, I don't know about that one. Okay, this one's cool. Every reveal turn, you get a spy and a troop. Spies are awesome, and the passive troops, you probably can't deploy them, but still, it's cool. And then endgame, you gain 1 influence with each faction where you have 1 or less influence. So if you're at 1 on any of the tracks, that equals a point. And that can be huge. A lot of times in the end game, like in the final rounds, I'm like, oh, I'm at 1 and I really need to go to this faction to get that point. And that does it for you. 5 spice ain't cheap, but man, I think this one's good. Spy drones. When you buy it, you get to place 2 spies, even if it's on space already occupied by another spy. So that's a nice when bought thing. And then once per round, you flip this to get a money, and if you were called a spy, you get a trash. And obviously it gives you spies, so that's, probably at least 2 trashes, even if you don't get other spies. Yeah, that's another S. That one's really good. Maybe I just like spies, but man. Delivery Bay. You draw a card, and then during your reveal turn, if you have 6 persuasion, you get 2 money. I don't love it. 1 card is not a big bonus. 6 persuasion is not easy to get, and 2 money is not that great either. So we're gonna go F. All right, reveal turn. If you have 6 plus persuasion, you get 2 daggers. So this one is only 1 spice versus the 3. I think the 2 daggers is a better reveal turn ability than the 2 money. Probably. I guess it's a toss-up. Of course, if you have 6 persuasion, what does that mean for your reveal turn? Are you trying to win the combat? Are you not? It's tough to say. Comparing it to, where's this one? This one, you don't need the 6 persuasion, and it potentially gives you less, potentially gives you more. I think that one's a little stronger. I'm going to put this one in C. Glow Globes. Automatically get an influence when you buy it. You may look at the top card of your deck at any time. It makes you like Paul, which, as I said in the leader tier list about Paul, I don't think that's an amazing ability. The influence is nice. It's... I'll put it in A. Not as strong as that one, but still, it's only 2 spice. Self-destroying messages. Very interesting. Like this one, it gives you 2 intrigue cards when you buy it, and then it gives you that. So, but it does cost 4. Yeah, I'm between B and A. We'll go A. For each intrigue card you draw or steal during your turn, you get a troop deployed to the conflict. So that combos wonderfully with Carthag or with secrets. Pretty rare you're going to be able to steal an intrigue card, so that's probably 1 troop that you get to deploy to the conflict. But that could happen multiple times in the round. It's not necessarily limited to once per round. Then again, unlike this, it's not guaranteed once per round. Really good on the Baron, who gets intrigue cards, or other characters like that. What's interesting is that you have to deploy it to the conflict, too, which I think makes it a little bit weaker. I'll put it in B. This one's cool. Once per turn, you get to turn once per round, you get to turn a non-combat space into a combat space. That can be a big difference maker if you go to, say, rally troops. You also get 2 troops when you buy it. I think that's an A. That's a pretty good one. All right, all of your battle icons are ornithopters, so this is an uprising thing. Basically, that means every 2 conflicts you win, you'll get an extra point no matter what the things are. It also gives you 2 troops when you buy it. I think that's got a high potential. We'll put that in A. All right, you're going to influence. Board spaces cost you 1 spice or 1 slurry less. Very interesting. Super, super good if you get it early. Late game, is it going to be worth it? You know, I mean, the 1 spice is the better value, right? You would have to go to, so let's say you spend 5 spice for it, so you need to use this like 5 times to get a good return on value. So if you get that in the earlier mid game, yeah, you will. Late game, maybe not as much, but I still think it's an A. All right, when you buy it, you get a trash. When you win a conflict, draw a card. When you win a conflict, draw a card. That's weird. Actually, I'm not completely sure how that works. If that just means you get an extra card for the start of the next round. That must be how it works, which is cool. I think because it's so cheap and it gives you a trash, it's pretty solid. More than the when you win a conflict ability. 7 spice automatically gets you a point, so where's this? That's better value there. Recruiting a Sardaukar commander, including when you acquire one, costs you 1 less. That's also pretty cool. That's one of the main mechanics of Bloodlines, so if you're going for the Sardaukar commanders, that's obviously helpful. Then again, 7 spice is so expensive, you're probably not going to get this till later game, and then it might be less helpful. But still, I think that's actually going to be an A. All right, 3 spice, you get 4 money immediately, so that's not bad. And then whenever you recruit a Sardaukar commander, you can trash this for an additional skill. So that's not really one you hang on to. That's just you get it and you use it. I mean, the 4 spice, the 4 money instantly lets you get a commander, and then you get an extra skill. So it combos well with that. Or you can just use it to get a Swordmaster or something. I think we'll put that in B. This one's really fun. When you buy it, you automatically trigger the ability of your Signet Ring. And then now your Signet Ring you can use to go anywhere. So basically, if you have a really good Signet Ring, this is really good. If you have a really bad Signet Ring, not so good. I mean, you're only going to draw your Signet Ring a few times, which is the only reason that I think it's not like super powered, but I think it's still pretty solid. All right, when you buy this, you immediately get a contract. Again, this is an uprising one. When you complete a contract, you draw a card. And game, it's worth a point if you've completed 4 or more contracts. I just don't love contracts. Completing 4 or more is so hard to me. I feel like I complete like 2 maybe a game, so you get like, I mean, obviously this helps because it lets you draw one, but yeah, it's not good enough for me. I'm going to put it in C. I think if you're really going for contracts, it has a high ceiling, but yeah. To acquire this, you must trash one of your spies from the board and return it to the box. So that stinks because you only have 3 spies in your supply, so for the rest of the game, you'd only have 2 potential, which is interesting. The ability is awesome. I mean, you just get a free intrigue card every round. That's awesome. But it is costly because it's a spy from the board too, so it's one that you already deployed. I think it's gonna go in B. I think the ability is strong enough that it's worth it, but it ain't cheap. So there's our layout. Seems like the costs are kind of all over the place. Same with, there's some really strong ones and some weak ones from both Ix and from Bloodlines. So they're a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.